shelter immediately. This is not a confirmed tornado. It's a radar indicated tornado, but nevertheless, we do have a broad rotation that we're seeing with this particular storm, and this storm is just one of many. That's why we have a 10 weather impact day today and tonight into tomorrow morning because of more potential storms developing. This tornado warning till 5:30. You can see it does have some frequent lightning, but it also has a potential for some hail out of this. We had seen some hail with the severe thunderstorm that came through downtown right where we are. We had little pea-sized hail or just slightly smaller than that, but there is potential some of this hail could get up to quarter size, inch in diameter or greater. Cassie has switched over to the velocity. We can see this signature there that shows a broad rotation with this storm, and that's why a tornado warning has been issued. Just south of Hamblen, it's tracking toward the northeast at about 15 miles an hour. So some of the places that'll be affected are right here. Hamblen, 13 minutes, Kingston, 19 minutes. It doesn't mean the entire core of the system is going to go right over these places. It just means you're going to get part of that storm as it comes in. Also, as it continues, Little Emery, about 29 minutes from now, Big Emery Baptist Church, about 30 minutes. People are having events, people are trying to do things outdoors, but it's getting extremely active now, and we're going to continue to have storms blossom up. This is out ahead of a main line that is back to our west that has been pushing through the central part of the state. That line will continue to press in and bring us some strong to potential severe thunderstorms through the early evening hours. We will get a little bit of a break later on, and then tonight we expect another push because of a cold front that's going to be moving our way. A couple of severe thunderstorm warnings still ongoing for Knox County northward. Look at the electricity out of this storm. Tremendous amount of lightning, and that's dangerous too. These storms have potential to drop a tornado as well. We do have some broad rotation. That's why it says tornado possible there with this particular severe thunderstorm warning. Getting closer inspection, we can see some of these disparities in motion. We get the green is showing forward motion toward the radar site, which is out here, and then we get red showing motion away from the radar site. And we get that. It shows a broad rotation at this particular time with that particular storm. And then up here, we're starting to notice a little bit of a green core that is getting brighter. That also is a broad rotation. It doesn't mean there's a tornado on the ground, just means there's a possibility with that broad rotational loft could extend to the ground and we could have a tornado. So that's why we have to stay on the air with these storms, especially when we have a tornado warning. This is showing vertical liquid. It does a couple of things. One, it can show us how much moisture is in the column of air that could be dumped on us in a torrential rainfall, but it also shows a possibility of some hail or a core of hail out of that storm. I haven't had any reports of any large hail yet, but again, we have had some pea-sized hail out of these storms. There has been a couple of trees down in certain areas, just varies depending on where these storms are, and they're just popping up and blossoming in this afternoon juicy air mass. Our temperature has made it up into the mid-80s, upper 80s in some cases. Humidity is high. It feels like 90 degrees, so that's why we're getting these storms. Another severe thunderstorm warning ongoing till 5:15. Bradley, McMinn, Monroe, and Polk are the main ones, and it's headed toward Tellico Plains. Now, you're outside of that warning, but if you're there, just realize a storm is on the way. You may only get the northern edge of that storm, but you can see the rain is starting to intensify, and there may be another storm starting to blossom close to the main core of the storm that's near Turtletown. A little bit further north, thank you very much, Cassie, showing you the severe thunderstorm warnings that are downtown, but the tornado warning is our main threat and the reason why we're staying on the air until it expires. Been watching that particular broad rotation, very good signature. That's south and southeast of Midtown at this time. Kingston, you're kind of in the path. And I-40, not a good place to be at the moment as that storm will be passing overhead. Here at the station, we had a storm come in and it had produced very heavy rain, little hail, and also some gusty winds. Notice about 30 to 40 mile an hour wind. This particular storm, of course, if it does have a broad rotation, probably has some pretty gusty winds associated with it. Could get up to 60 miles an hour, which is damaging. When it gets above that, it really can cause more damage too. Here's the track once again just to show you who's affected by this particular storm that could have a tornado dropped. It's going to be at Kingston Elementary School about 13 minutes. So Kingston, 16 minutes on its present trajectory at about 15 miles an hour toward the northeast. And some of these storms have been moving a little faster. We've had the ones downtown move as fast as 45 miles an hour. So it varies from storm to storm. If you look closely, though, you can see kind of a little bit of a hook trying to show up here on that storm that could potentially have that tornado, and that just shows you that broad rotation. We have another tornado warning. This must be new, that just been issued. Where is that? Grainger, Hamblen, Jefferson County. That's until 5:30, and that's just a new warning. I haven't got the particulars yet with it, but our velocity does show a potential when you see the bright greens in contrast with some of the reds right up against it. We must have some sort of rotation. What the radar is doing is it's picking up those raindrops, and it can pick up the motion of those raindrops, and of course the wind drives that. So as the wind is whipping around, if it changes direction, then it shows us the direction of those raindrops, and that's why we use that velocity product. Here are some of the places going to be affected by that particular storm that could potentially have a tornado. It'll be at Jefferson City in 18 minutes, Cherokee in just 13 minutes, Mills Spring 11 minutes from now, and Talbot about 28 minutes. This gives you just an idea. It doesn't mean it's going to be bang at that particular time overhead at the worst possible point of the storm. It just gives you a guide on that storm's direction, on that storm's speed, and when it will be potentially affecting you. So take shelter immediately in those places that you notice that we showed you the direction the storm is going because of potential tornado. So you want to get to the center of your house if you can. First floor if you have 2 floors. Basement would be better if you have one. Underground's always better. But just surround yourself with plenty of walls. So you want to stay away from windows. Small interior closet, bathroom is probably the best bet. And look at these cores, the vertical liquid, especially in the one just outside of Knoxville that came through here and just dumped a lot of rain on us. That could potentially cause some flooding too, even have some small hail with it. All of these storms have a potential for flooding because of the ground being so saturated already with an excess amount of rain this month. We already have over 7 inches of rain and counting. So 2 tornado warnings. There's one for Roane County, Grainger, Hamblen, Jefferson County. Both of these go on till 5:30. And the lightning is tremendous out of the storm that is producing this tornado warning, Grainger, Hamblen, and Jefferson County. So that's dangerous too. Cloud to ground lightning could have some power outages. Of course, the wind could cause trees to topple, and the ground being so saturated that just go down like a sail in the wind. They get caught, all those leaves, and just when the roots get so wet, those trees go down. This particular storm continues to drive toward Kingston. It's almost there where we see the rotation with it too. And as it drives in, those in Kingston really need to get to the safest place they possibly can until this warning expires, which won't happen for a good 35 minutes from now. We'll continue to track these storms and show you also what's going on when it comes to the watches, the advisories, and what's going to happen later on. Cassie Nall is going to take it over for just a minute and explain what's going on here.
All right, folks, let's go ahead and again examine some of these storms that Mike has been taking a look at. Again, our first tornado warning has been for Roane County, and that rotation is showing up just to the south of the Harriman area, going to be passing directly over Kingston. So if you are in the path of the storm in Kingston, you need to be taking shelter in the lowest level of your home, away from doors and windows. It's about to cross right over I-40 right now, right out there in Roane County. So again, please take shelter if you are in the path of that particular storm. And then we're going to go with Max 1, Kelsey, for this one. As we continue to look at the path of that storm, again, heading toward the Kingston area, as Mike was pointing out, we do have a pretty decent indication that there could be rotation with that cell or just damaging winds in general. We also have a new tornado warning that Mike was talking about here coming right through right now, southern portions of Grainger County. That's going to be crossing over the county line into Hamblen County, northern Jefferson County as well, and moving almost directly over the radar. That's that little cap that you see on the right-hand side of your screen right there. That's located near Alpha. That's the National Weather Service office in Morristown. I wouldn't be surprised actually if they end up taking shelter in the path of the storm. We've been watching this one, showing signs of broad rotation as it's been moving off to the east-northeast at about 20 to 25 miles per hour. But with some of its latest velocity scans, that gave the National Weather Service the indication that it could have a higher potential of actually dropping that tornado to the ground, and that's why they went ahead and issued that warning. Some of the areas that we're watching closely for that potential rotation and that could be affected very shortly here is the Cherokee Dam subdivision, if you're along that, or 92, Tennessee Highway 92 right there. Again, coming into the Alpha area near Young School, Lakeshore Drive, Panther Creek Road. It's actually moving right across Buffalo School right now. It'll be near Morgan School. And this is passing just to the south of Rutledge. But Jefferson City, even if you don't see the potential rotation, you still could have damaging winds moving into your area very shortly. So if you are in Jefferson City or Morristown, or anywhere right around there, you need to be taking shelter now in your safe place, lowest level of your home, away from doors and windows. We've also been watching this cell moving through Knox County. This one, look at this. That's incredible. When you see those really bright pink colors right there with the vertically integrated liquid, it tells us that there is a lot of moisture in that column. And so that could be very large raindrops. It is producing very heavy rain, but it also has the potential to produce up to $half size hail. That's 1.25 inches in diameter as it moves off to the east. Nickel size? All right. Nickel size hail in East Knoxville already as it's moving off to the east. So if you're in Strawberry Plains, not only do you have very strong winds about to come into your area, but you also have the potential for large to possibly damaging hail. Quarter size is where the minimum criteria for a severe thunderstorm, because that can pose a threat to property. If we get up to that $half size or larger, that's when you could really start to notice that. So if you are in the Strawberry Plains area, please take shelter, again, away from doors and windows. This storm also has been showing signs of broad rotation at times, which is why it also has that tornado possible tag along that with that severe thunderstorm warning. Today is a day, I mean, any day you should be doing this, but especially today. You need to take the severe thunderstorm warnings just as seriously as you take the tornado warnings. They also could produce very dangerous winds and very large hail, and a lot of these storms are just rotating. That's the dynamic that we have in the atmosphere today, which is why this is a 10 weather impact day. And unfortunately, I know it's affecting a lot of folks' outdoor plans. And I know, unfortunately, that we are covering up the race that was already delayed because of the weather today. But when there is a threat to life and property, that takes precedent over a race. I'm sorry, folks. We'll be getting back to your programming as soon as we can. But for right now, we're continuing to monitor the tornado warning that's moving now out of southern Grainger County into northern Jefferson County and going to be moving right over the radar over into Hamblen County, eventually moving through Jefferson City, Alpha, and into the Morristown area. That's tornado warning. And as Mike was mentioning, a lot of lightning with this storm too. That tells us that the storm is not weakening right now. Typically, that's a good indication of a strong updraft where there's a lot of turbulence. It's crashing the ions together. It's creating the charges that spark off the lightning. That also is a good indication there may be some hail mixed in there as well. So that storm also going to be very electric when it comes through your area. You probably can already hear the thunder rumbling. And the reason we have that considerable tag showing up there on that severe thunderstorm warning box is because of that possibly $half size hail as it rolls into that area. All right, so it looks like the cell that is in the Harriman area, this is probably good news that I'm seeing right here, the rotation is weakening. So the National Weather Service looks like they are going to go ahead and allow the tornado warning to possibly be canceled early. They have issued a severe thunderstorm warning downstream, so where the cell is actually going. They have still given it that tornado possible tag, which means they're still seeing rotation with it, but they're not confident enough in that rotation to need to have a tornado warning on that cell. It's a severe thunderstorm warning, but with the potential to possibly produce a tornado. Let me read a little bit more about this warning here for you really quickly because it still has that considerable tag on it. No, actually that's, our system is grabbing the wrong warning. There we go. Tornado possible, not considerable damage expected with that particular cell. It is moving to the east at 35 miles per hour, 60 mile per hour wind gusts, penny size hail possible with that. So we'll see if they go ahead and cancel that tornado warning early. Let's see if they have anything to say about that. Oh, we do have possible wall cloud that was being spotted possibly along with that cell. So we are definitely seeing the rotation showing up and maybe some lowering of the clouds in some areas. Looks like we had, Mike, am I reading that correctly? 1 3/4 inch hail near Asheville Highway?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Okay, so we're getting up to that ping pong ball, golf ball size hail. So that was in East Knoxville. Remember that cell I was showing you that had that huge core on it? We'll go ahead and take a look at that one. That's why we have that considerable damage possible. So it was warned for $half size. It looks like it has the potential to produce maybe ping pong to golf ball size hail, and it has been reported near the Asheville Highway I-40 merger right there. So again, if you're in Strawberry Plains, heads up, the storm appears to be collapsing and could be dropping those large and dangerous hailstones into your area very soon. Back off toward the north and the east, we're still tracking this particular cell that has that tornado warning attached to it. This is the one that is moving out of Grainger County into Hamblen County. And in addition to seeing the potential for the rotation, we also could just be seeing damaging winds in general coming right toward the radar. The radar beam goes up in elevation as you get farther away from the beam. So the fact that we're seeing colors that bright, that close to the radar, tells us that it's very likely that that is reaching the ground, whatever we end up seeing in this area. Now, it's showing velocities in that 45 to 50 mile per hour range here. The cell is warned for 60 mile per hour winds, so certainly a possibility that they exceed what we're currently reading in our system. Again, it's doing the best it can. And again, seeing that collapsing of that storm, we're also noticing that over here in our velocity scans. So here's the difference. When you have red and green that are facing the radar, that means that you have winds moving in the opposite direction, going toward and going away from the radar. When you have red and green moving straight toward the radar this way, that is indicative of a downdraft or a storm collapsing, and it's pushing wind toward the radar and pushing wind away from the radar, but it's not moving side to side, creating that rotation. And that's, I think, what we're seeing because of that hail collapsing. So in addition to the very large hail heading toward the ground, we talk about this all the time, it pushes the air out of the way, and that creates wind damage. And that's what we could be seeing right near Carter Elementary School possible right now. If you're over there in far east Knox County, this is about to cross into northern Sevier County and into western portions of, I believe, Jefferson County. Here, let me go ahead and turn this warning back on to make sure. Yes, that is what we are seeing in that area. So heads up, if you are right along I-40, northward from near Kodak, northward Strawberry Plains, y'all need to be taking shelter, because here's the other thing about those strong winds and those hailstones. Those strong winds blow those hailstones sideways, and that's why we try to tell folks to get away from doors and windows, because that debris that's in the wind can also be very dangerous. All right, so they have oh, nope, you're right, there it is. All right, so now we have another tornado warning. Apologies to our Indianapolis car fans here. We have another tornado warning that we're going to be tracking here. This one has now been issued for parts of Campbell, Scott, and Union counties. Let's go ahead and take a look and see if we can find the velocity couplet in there. Looks like it was showing up right near the Norma area. Right there. Let me go ahead. Okay, so there's where it started, right there. Thank you, Mike. And you said 45 to the east? Mm-hmm. All right, so there it is. Let me go ahead and take this warning right off here so we can see that a little more clearly. Again, folks, as these warnings are coming in, we are also analyzing these with you at the exact same time. So again, we're watching those very bright velocities showing up here just to the west of 63, I-75, just to the west of I-75 now, showing up with the potential velocities in that 55 to 60 mile per hour range, but also the potential for rotation that's going to be coming into the La Follette area very shortly. Mike tells me that this cell is moving to the east-northeast at about 45 miles per hour. It's a little faster than some of our cells that are down into the Central Valley. So that's going to put it near, I turned off my query. Let me do that again for you all, folks. All right. One more time for you. Okay. Near Cove Lake Estates, Jacksboro, We're in Campbell County. DeLapp, also into La Follette, you need to be taking shelter. Into Fordtown, Demery, Fincastle. If you're near Deerfield Resort or in Victory, heads up, you've got a strong to possibly severe storm that is showing signs of rotation, which is why we have the tornado warning in effect for this particular cell moving in your direction. These are areas that already had strong storms earlier this morning. What this is telling us is that now we're not as concerned up in the northern areas that have already seen the storms earlier today for the strength of the storm, but now the atmosphere has that extra spin to it. So even a storm that's not as strong could be possibly producing a tornado coming into southern Campbell County. It's going to be crossing right over I-75 into the La Follette area. And yes, that does include part of northern Union County. And I wouldn't be surprised if that gets extended possibly into Claiborne County. So if you're in Speedwell, even if you're not under that warning right now, heads up, you've got a tornado warned storm just down to your south and your west. Let's go back to this big cell that is still tornado warned here coming out of Grainger County into Hamblen County. It's about to pass right over the radar, and you can see some of those very bright velocities showing up right there. Let's go ahead and take a quick little glimpse at what those wind speeds could be right near Lakeshore Drive, 55 to 60 mile per hour in that particular area. And again, this is going to be moving right over Panther Creek Road, right over the radar and into the Morristown area. So if you are in Morristown, you need to be taking shelter now in the lowest level of your home, away from doors and windows. If you are anywhere near the National Weather Service office, you also need to be taking shelter because that storm is going to be moving directly over your area. Back down to the south and the west, still seeing those very strong wind signatures now, just coming into the Strawberry Plains area. This is the cell that was warned and has produced half-dollar to ping-pong to golf ball size hail as it's moving off to the north and the east here. So we're still watching that potential hail, but now we're seeing a change in the colors. This is what I was talking about. As that storm collapses, it creates more of a wind threat than a hail threat, because now the stones aren't being pulled upwards anymore, they're coming down. And so now you can see the difference in the color, right? It went from being bright pink back here, producing the very large hail, to now collapsing, and that's why we're now seeing those bright wind signatures showing up on our velocity scans. I love it when the weather actually makes sense for like 2 seconds, because half the time, or I wouldn't even say half, the majority of the time, it is just a mystery. Let's go back up and check out this La Follette tornado warned storm up here in Campbell County. I'm not seeing clear, obvious rotation with this one. I see it back here, but it looks like it's turned more into a damaging wind threat coming right into the La Follette area, right up 25W right now. That is where we are now seeing some of these brighter blue pixels showing up here, 60 to 65, maybe 70 mile per hour gusts. Again, this is elevated. It might not be getting all the way down to the surface, but because this cell did show signs of rotation just a little bit ago, we do still have the tornado warning attached to it. So as I was mentioning before, tornado warning, severe thunderstorm warning, either way, your response is the same. Go to your safe place immediately. Lowest level of your home, away from doors and windows, so that you're away from the debris and you're away from the wind. And here's good news. This is good news. The tornado warning was canceled early in Roane County. Now that storm has a history of showing rotation, so there is still a tornado possible tag attached to that particular cell. Our velocity is still showing some brightness down there, but it's just not quite as tight as it was earlier, which is why the National Weather Service has gone ahead and canceled out that that tornado warning and gone ahead with the severe thunderstorm warning. Let's go ahead and check back up farther to the north here. I'm seeing a new severe thunderstorm warning. Notice how the warnings are getting larger. That's because the Weather Service is trying to get everybody included in this here. So the cell that was coming out of Strawberry Plains is weakening. The cell that, do we want to do that?
Yeah, let's change it over.
Okay, we're going to switch over to Max 2, if you don't mind, Kelsey. Do you want me to stay here, Mike?
You do.
Stay here?
That's fine.
Okay. All right, so Kelsey, well, thank you very much. All right, so we're going to switch over here to Max 2 and continue to look at that cell. So the National Weather Service has gone ahead and extended that severe thunderstorm warning now for a good portion of our viewing area. That's going to include parts of Jefferson County. Here, I'll read it to you so you can get all of the very latest information in real time here. Okay, Jefferson County, Northern Cott County, Western Greene County, North Central Sevier County, Central Grainger County, and Hamblen County. This is until 5:45. The cell is moving east at 45. Golf ball size hail and 70 mile per hour winds are going to be possible with this cell that is not the same one, or kind of is merging with, I should say, the tornado warned cell. I know this can get confusing. It's confusing for us too. We're all in this together. Let's go ahead and take a look at that cell and kind of walk back through some of those criteria that we were showing you earlier. So the cell is collapsing. That golf ball size hail that was once suspended up in the air is now starting to drop down toward the surface. And that is why, excuse me, that severe thunderstorm warning has been extended to the northeast, and why now we're talking about potentially 70-mile-per-hour winds mixed in there as well, is because of the potential as that storm collapses to create those damaging winds. So if you are in the Strawberry Plains area, or just kind of between Kodak and Strawberry Plains, right along Old Dandridge Pike, along 25W to near Piedmont Elementary School, or possibly getting into the Dandridge area. In fact, yeah, thank you, Mike. I see you're checking out our Dandridge camera here. Ooh, can we see that?
Yeah, if you want to go to it.
Yeah, okay. Hey, Kelsey, can we go ahead and take our Dandridge camera really quickly? Or take our, okay. She's going to get that up for us here in just a second, because we happen to have a camera in the path of the cell, and you can really see the dark clouds. If the camera can try to focus here. Do you want to try to zoom out a little bit, Mike? Would that help it a little bit? Okay. It's very hazy today as well, so the camera's kind of having some trouble focusing here, but we're going to get there in just a second. But you can almost see a shelf cloud that's pushing in out ahead of that line. Now, this is mounted on a floating dock, so as the wind starts to pick up, you can really start to notice the bouncing start to take place. So there's some of that lowering of the cloud base out ahead of that cell. Let me go ahead and tip up just a little bit, Mike, here. I'll go ahead and tilt up. We can watch this, look at this together. So there's some of that cumulonimbus cloud action going on. There's the shelf cloud, the leading edge of the wind that's going to be coming in there. And then over here to the east, or not the east, but over to the right just a little bit, notice the difference in the color on right above the horizon there in the distance. That's that very heavy rain that's going to be coming in right into the Dandridge area. This is going to be an interesting camera to watch over the next 10 to 15 minutes, because I think we're going to just see a wall of wind come across this lake. I wish I could talk to those folks that are out there right now on that boat and tell them to get to shore right now, because you've got a severe thunderstorm warning, or severe thunderstorm heading in your direction. Let's go back to that tornado warning, because that's why we're in this coverage in the first place here. We have that tornado warned storm moving right over the radar right now, and admittedly that is a blind spot. Because the radar shoots up and out, it can't see right above it. So that's why we have that little icon right there kind of denoting with the dome, the top of the radar, but also that blank space right around it. So that's where the cell is currently moving, right over the National Weather Service office. Hopefully they'll be able to give us a good observation about what happened with that cell as it moved over there. Saw some very bright winds coming across Lakeshore Drive. The other thing is, once these cells pass, it's very helpful if you, the viewer, sends us your reports. We don't want you to put yourself in danger to do that by any means. But if you let us know that the cell did not end up producing the type of wind that we thought it would, or did not produce the hail the size that it potentially could have, that's very helpful. Kelsey's mentioning a hail picture. Let's go ahead and take a look at that for us here. Ooh, do you know where that was taken? I'm gonna guess east. Oh, wow. Okay, so that was taken in Fountain City. Now, here's the important thing about measuring hail. Everyone's hand is a different size. So if your hand is the size of Mike's, that might be a quarter size. If that was possibly my hand, which is much smaller, that could possibly be up to that maybe $50 to ping pong ball size hail. So either way, that is large hail, and that hail is large enough to do some damage to vehicles. And like I said, that we saw that there in Fountain City. Thank you so much to that viewer for sending it in. Reiterating my point here, how important it is to get those real-time reports from our viewers to let us know if the storms are actually reaching their potential. All right, we have a new severe thunderstorm warning now that has just been issued for parts of Cock, Greene, and part of Jefferson, southern Jefferson, and eastern Sevier counties. This is where we're also watching another cell for the potential of maybe some hail or possibly 60-mile-per-hour winds. Also seeing maybe some broad rotation with that one as well. It looks like that one's about to cross over that county line between Sevier and Cock County. If you're along 321 or between Newport and Hartford, that is where the core of the cell is going to be passing, so please take shelter if you're in the path of that particular storm. All right, let's go back here and see. It looks like our tornado warning in Campbell County has been canceled. So that's the other thing about these storms is they spin up fast and they go away fast, which is why your response time needs to be quick as well. That being said, I want to get back to the race because I know that is very important, and viewers have been extremely patient today waiting for that race to get started in the first place, and now we're covering it up. So now that the tornado warnings have been allowed to expire, we're going to get back to your regular programming. We'll continue to keep you up to date on our social media pages and on our streaming pages, and we will cut in back here on programming if there is a threat to life and property with a tornado warned storm coming up later this evening. We'll be back hopefully at 6 p.m. for a newscast, and otherwise we'll just keep going as we go through the evening. Another round of storms expected overnight tonight once this round comes through, so don't let your guard down.